This movie is going to be a quick step-by-step instruction on how to turn a character that you find on the internet like this into your own caricature, and this is my example of the caricature. So I'm going to close both of these files, and we're going to start in on a Robert Downey Jr. character. I have also made a text file here showing what the steps are. So we're going to do step 1 right now, which is find an image, preferably against a white or solid color background. Try to narrow your search to 2 megabytes or higher. So let's just minimize that. And let's now go up to the top of this, and you can see how I've actually clicked Tools, and I clicked larger than 2 megabytes. Now I have 2 images over here. One is that image, which I could use, and one is this image, which I could use. Now I found that image in a Robert Downey Jr. search, obviously, and he was somewhere down here. I'm not going to take the time to find him perfectly, but this is how you would find him. This is the one I can find at the moment. So what I'm going to do is click Save. In the new Google search, you click Save. Then you view saved. Then you have your ones that you view saved here, and you can click on the one that you want. You can click on the one here, and then right-hand click and save that to the desktop. And that's exactly how I got that image right over here. Okay, so I just right-hand clicked and saved the image to the desktop. Same way I saved the other image. But let's now go to step 2. So step 1 is that image. I have made a folder called a step-by-step folder, so I'm going to drag that into my folder. The next step is to cut out the image. Well, it's an easy process to cut out when it's a whitish background behind the character. Okay, so please try to find that easy access character. So I'm going to double click this and open this guy and hit the F key in Photoshop. So there's my character. Now you can see how the white background is beautiful. It's actually right where it needs to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this character. I'm not just going to use the magic wand and grab this outer part out here, okay, and try to get a perfect edge on it. I'm going to use a copied channel. So where I am right now is in step 2. It says open the image in Photoshop. Step 3, cut out the body using either a pen or a channel or both. I'll show you both. All right, so I'll show you in this image how I can use a channel. In my Will Smith image, I used a pen and a channel. So I'll show you both. So what I'm going to do is see which one of these has the best contrast in the darks. Now I can see that one automatically does. It's the blue channel. So I'm going to duplicate the blue channel. I'm going to hit Command L, and my goal here is to turn everything that I'm seeing darker and everything that I'm seeing lighter. Now I may have to alter it or fix it. So I'm going to take the black and move it over to the right, and you can see how I'm making it all darker. Now it's not going to take a whole lot for me to actually save all that nice hair. All I have to do is fill this image in. I'll move the white a little bit over, but there. Now all I have to do is use the B key, paint at 100% flow, so make your flow 100%, opacity 100% in the B key, right-hand click and go almost but not all the way hard. Now, I'll zoom in and you can see how I can actually use this to actually fill in all of the little spaces that are right next to his face. I want to keep some of that gray next to his face, so I'm coming down like this, but I certainly don't want to lose that nice beard stuff. I do want to get close, and I do want to fill in. I mean, I know that's a highlight right there on his face. It's the end little hairs that I don't want to lose. So my duty for you is to go in and fill in the entire thing in black, okay? And then we're going to do something different. Now let me go in here and see where the actual edge of this is. So what I need to do first is I don't want his, I've got to fill in all his ear spots. So I'm doing this all on camera with you. Okay, I know that those are holes here, so I'm only going to fill in these little highlight areas right here. Now I want you to see in the channel palette how if I leave it selected on this blue copy, but I turn the eyeball on and off, how I can actually see the image, but still paint on the blue copy channel. All right. Now, I don't like what it's doing, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. See how you can hardly see the mask color? I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to double click this down here, the blue channel, and I'm going to change this color to any color that's a vibrant color, but it's not going to be in 10%. I'm going to make it in 50%. So now look what happens when I click on this eyeball over here for the RGB channel. Do you see how you can really tell what is the mask? The mask, the purple you see is not really purple. It's really black. So watch how I'm going to use the X key and toggle back and forth. Look at how I'm painting black, which looks like purple, right on the edge of his shirt. And then I'm going to go up his neck, and now I've got that whole edge done very nicely. Now I'm going to back off of this by holding the Option key. Okay, now I'm going to turn off the eyeball for the RGB image. Now I want to make the brush bigger. My job is to fill in all of these holes. So I'm going to make the brush even bigger because I want to cut out the character from the white or colored background or photographic background. Now, I don't want to mess this one up, so I'm going to duplicate the blue channel, and there it is. Now I'm going to hit Command I to invert it, not inverse it, invert it. Command I or Control I. Now I have a perfect mask to cut out this character over here, and that was part of step 3. Now I'm going to show you how I used a pen on Will Smith and the same technique on the channel for Will Smith's hair to do the exact same thing. So you need to create either a path and a channel, I'll show you what I'm talking about, or a channel. And look at how I've got them. Now I'm going to hit Command S to save that. So let me save this as Brian underscore caricature, ICATUR here, caricature art underscore Downey. Just so I know it's Robert Downey Jr. And I'm going to save it in there. And now I'm going to open up the Will Smith image. I'm going to go to Open Recent, and I'm going to go to not the composite. I actually want to go to the actual, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to go into the Will Smith PSD file so I can show you what I did with him. Now watch how there is see how there's a body here? I want you to see, I have to turn off something and go back to my regular image on the bottom, which shouldn't have moved. Now, do you see how I actually drew a pen path around his head, and I didn't want to try to cut out his hair with a pen? Do you see how ridiculously hard that would be? Okay, so I drew it around his ears, his face, and the rest of him. Now I did the same thing by duplicating the red channel in him. So I'm going to click away from this path for a second. Now I'm going to click on the red channel, and you can see how I have a decent dark against lighter background. Do you see how that's a dark against lighter background? Well, look, I duplicated it. Then I used the levels command to make it lighter and darker. So what I did here was I took the red channel and I duplicated it. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you again, but I went Command L. And I darkened it. Look at how I darkened it, and I lightened the background. I lightened it considerably, like this. Now I even darkened it a little bit more, and I went like this to make it lighter. Now I could see his hair. Actually, I don't think I actually went darker. There it is. Do you see how I went and made his hair darker? Look, I'll move this back over to the left, to the right a little bit. Look, there it is right there. I'll move the white up. And now all I have to do is take the time to do this. I'm going to show you how I started with it. Okay, and then I'll show you what I ended up with. Look at how on this duplicated channel, I was able to get a reasonably close black all over his face. You see how I was able to do that, but leave those little hairs hanging out over the edge? Do you see how I did that? Okay, now, what I did then was I hit the X key and I painted white out here, and I left those little hairs as white right there. So I went all around his hair and I tried to get as good as I could, and this is what I ended up with, okay? This is what I did. This is exactly what I ended up with. I ended up with this. Now from that, you see how I went around his whole head. Now, look at how the path overlaps this. So I'm going to combine with the selection techniques, the channel and the path. But this wasn't the finished one. I'm going to now command click away from this one, and I'm going to show you what I turned that into. I'm going to go like this. Look at how I actually turned, just a minute, look at how I actually turned this into this by a little bit of work. You see how I did that? Look at the neat hairs that are hanging out over that. I can't do that by myself. I let the levels command and painting it quite good work. Now watch how I could have done it with this. Watch when I take Command L on this one and I bring the white up. Look at how that almost finishes it. You see how cool that is? Now all I have to do to finish that off is really take the lasso around this. Watch how quickly I can do this. I could have, and this is probably what I did, I took the lasso all around this. Just hold on, just hold on, just hold on. And I'm going to now finish it off. Look at, and I inversed it. I inversed the lasso. Now I want to paint white on the outside. So I went boom. See how I did that? See how I did that? I just went Option Delete and I filled the whole background with white. I'm not going to save this file, but look at, now all I have to do is deselect and hit Command I to invert it. I've got it. That's it. Now I want to click back up to the other one and hit Command I. Now watch how I can make a selection of a channel and a path. So I'll show this path. I'm going to hold the Command or Control key and click here. I'm going to add the Shift key and click on this one. Boom. Do you see how you have a mask all the way around the hair and the body? Okay, that's using a channel and a path. This was easy to path out, his hair was not. So you have to make the decision on yours. Now, if I would have found a Will Smith, let me deselect and click up to the RGB image. If I would have found a Will Smith against a white background, it would have been a lot better. So let me close this file and don't save, because you can see here I did find a Robert Downey Jr. against a white background. And look at, by making a copy of the blue channel and then turning it into this, I now can make one Command or Control click on this. Look at how cool that is. Click over here. Click over here and hit Command J. Now, what I have is I have a Robert Downey Jr. against no background. Now, I have to tell you that in this file, somehow the background is actually to the file in the preferences. I probably, for some reason, turned off the transparency grid. Okay, because a Command J should have made this transparent in the background. I know it should have. So what I'm going to do is go to Photoshop Preferences. I'll pause it if I can't get this to work really quickly. But let me go to, what am I looking for? Workspace. No, let me go to the next one. The next one, it's going very, very slow. The next one, 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 the next one. There it is. So my grid size is medium. My color here should be, my transparency setting should be on transparency. So let me see if I did anything wrong. It could be that I didn't make this a Photoshop file. So I'm going to Command Shift S and make it a PSD file. It already is a PSD file, and let me just hit cancel. So I'm going to figure out why I'm not getting a checkerboard background when I do have a selection active around his whole body. It's probably a very, very simple reason. And I'm going to find it out. I'm going to hit Command period to pause it, and I'll come back and tell you what the problem was. The answer was there was no problem. I must have not hit Command J. I know I did. But watch over here. It's a locked background. I don't care. I'm going to actually hit Command J a second time, just like I did it. And Photoshop's been giving me some of those problems. But now look at how I have a beautiful cutout Robert Downey Jr. And look at how it's a transparent background. And his hair looks great. So now let's go over here to the next step. Since you've cut them out, what do you do? So now I'm going to go over to my text edit thing. Now it says cut out or duplicate the facial features onto separate higher layers. Then, and it doesn't just mean facial features. It really means facial and body features is what I should have put in, because I want to cut out his body and make it smaller on a bigger head. So the next step, step 4, I'm going to start the process, and then I'll hit Command period to pause it, and then I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay, so let's minimize this, and let's go to Robert Downey Jr., and let's now take the lasso and get close to this. So I'm going to show you that I'm actually going to just use the lasso and lasso his eyebrow. So I'm just going to come in like that and just lasso the eyebrow. A big lasso, making sure I have enough around it. Now, if I don't have enough around it, just hold the Shift key and look at how I can add to the lasso, or hold the Alt or Option key. Watch how I can take away from the lasso. So do you see how I did that? Okay, now I'm going to click to this layer and hit Command J. I now have an eyebrow. So I'm going to name this it's really his right eyebrow. So name these every time you get it done. Now there's no reason why I can't turn it off, but don't leave that layer selected when you go to do the left eyebrow. Click over to the main layer. In fact, I'll call that main layer, and I'll save the file. Now I'm going to move over. Let's take the lasso. Let's now just make a big lasso. Don't worry about if it's too big, because there's a technique later to get rid of any extra. Look at how quick that was. Make sure you're on the main layer, hit Command J, and now look at how we have the left eyebrow, the left eyebrow. So now let's go left eyebrow. Now I'm going to do one more, if I can spell and talk at the same time, and hit save on the file. Turn it off, click back to the main layer, and now let's get the left eye. So I'm going to use the same lasso, and I'm going to come over here, come down like this, and I'm going to come around like that, and look at how I have the left eye. Now I'm going to click on the main layer and hit Command J. Look at how I have the left eye. So I'll name it left eye. Now I'm going to turn it off, click back to the main layer, and click his normal face. Let's go do the right eye. So I want to get the mouth and the nose too, so this shouldn't take too long. Maybe I'll just do them all on screen. If you want to fast forward it to the next step, I have no problem with that. Okay, so let's now make sure we're on the main layer, hit Command J. Let's double click this and call this right eye. I will hit Command period, I've decided, and then I'll come back and show you I've cut out all the features. Okay, I'm back, and I have cut out all the body parts. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to turn off the main layer that I had there. Watch how I have the eyebrow. I named the eyebrow, the left eye, the right eye, the nose. Let me get close. Look at how much bigger I made the nose than I needed. Make it bigger. Just make it bigger than you need, because we'll get rid of the excess with a layer mask. The beard, the mouth, the ear, the neck. Look at how I made the neck all what I want. The suit, because I want to make it really small, and I did the hair. I'll leave the suit on, but I did the hair all by itself. Now, what I want to do is I want to composite these and move them around on a face. But that's the next step. But not, and let me turn all these off, but not this face. I want to copy this face. So before I leave you, I'm going to take the main layer and duplicate it. That's what I want you to do. So turn off the main layer and maybe even lock it. So before you turn it off, you got to lock it, Brian, and then turn it off. I'll even color it red so that I don't touch it. okay? But I'm going to leave it off and hit Command S to save the file. Now this one I'm going to have as blank face. Now I probably want to get rid of everything else, including the suit. I want to just have this be his head, okay? And I want to do everything else myself on this, okay? So I'm going to go to the next step and I'm going to show you what we're doing. So step 5, turn off the visibility for all the separate layers, use the fill technique in Content Aware, and remove the facial features from a lower, which I just made, duplicated face layer. So that's the next step. Let's go like this, and let's now, we already have everything we need. So I'm actually going to get rid of by just hitting delete or adding a layer mask to this at first. So I'll add a layer mask to this, and I'm going to take a big paintbrush and I'm going to paint in black, and I'm going to remove all the stuff that I don't want on this face. So look, I'm just going to take it all away. I just want a blank face. I don't even care about his neck. So let me just back off on this. Look, I'm adding black to the layer mask. You see how it's removing the image but not damaging the image. If I go too far like this, I can go fix it. So you know that I can fix that. If I come back and hit the X key, I can just put this back in. Remember, I'm actually painting at 100% flow. So now I've put that back in. All right, I would like to remove the hair from this image. So let me take the black, meaning the like this, and I would like to remove some of this hair. I don't want that hair. I already have my own hair. I'm going to composite, and I don't want that ear. I want my own ear. Okay, so I'm just going to go like this, but I'm not going to get rid of that ear totally. I'm just going to go like this and probably cover it up. Okay, now I'm ready to do what I want to do in this step right here, step 5. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I actually don't want to damage this layer, but I really don't want to have the mask be there. So what do you do, Brian? Well, you duplicate it. You turn it off. Whoops. I got to pick up the whole layer and duplicate it. Now I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to work on this one, but watch what I do. I right-hand click on this one, and I apply the layer mask. Now I just have this one. See, I just have this one. That's all I have. Now I want to use Content Aware to remove stuff. It doesn't have to be even pretty. So I'm going to take the L key, and I'm going to remove a little bit at a time, making a 1/4 inch bigger stuff than I need around what I'm doing. Now you see how I have a 1/4 inch around this, okay, a 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to put a little bit of a feather on it so the edge isn't so harsh. So I go to Select, Modify, Feather by about 5 pixels. Now I'm going to go to Edit, Fill. In filling it, I'm going to fill it with Content Aware. You have to have Photoshop CC for this. And I'm going to go now say OK. Now Content Aware should remove it perfectly. Now, it didn't remove it all the way perfectly, so I'll use my clone tool like in one of the exercises and just smooth this out so it's not so ugly. Now, I'm going to make another lasso around this part of the face. I didn't say this is a perfect thing. It's just a very quick way to get rid of some of the stuff. Now I'm going to add a feather. If you want to know what feather is, it's Shift F6. And there's feather. Now I could have gone to Select, Modify, Feather. Now I'm going to go to Shift F5, and that is Content Aware. See, I'll cancel it. See how Edit, Shift F5 is the fill thing. So I'll do that next time. And now I should have that eye gone. Now let's make one around his nose. Come real close there, and it might even put some hair where I don't want hair. So let's go Shift F6 and Shift F5 and hit the return key. And now his nose should be gone. Now, I can do the rest of it on my own, but I'm going to hit the S key for clone stamp, and I'm going to make it bigger. I'm now going to put the clone stamp on about 25%. so it's softer. But I want to make sure the brush is somewhat soft. Now watch how I'm going to clone this part right here. Look, I'm grabbing this clone right here, and I'm going to paint it over that eye and soften it. Okay, look at how I'm softening the colors here. I'll use a bright color, and I'll put a little bit more of a bright color there. Let me Command Z back a couple times, and let me go to less on this. I'll go to 15 on the flow, because it was putting on too much. So I'm going to grab this now here, this color, and I'm going to go over where his nose was, because I don't want this harsh feeling right there. I want to just have it be just a little bit of a lighter value. Okay, now let's go here and let's take away this, and now I could get smaller. I could clone this, and I could kind of paint over where his eyebrow was. Now I have a good basis in this face to do what I want. All right, I'll probably take this tone right there, and I'll probably just maneuver it over his nose so it's not so harsh right around here. I don't want to lose that shadow though right there, so look at how I'm coming in like this. Now I haven't taken off his beard, and I would like to make his beard smaller on his face. All right, so I might have to use a little bit of a clone technique to grab and put more of this tone where the beard is. So I'll go like this and grab it. And now this is where you have to have a little bit of artist license. Do you see how I'm grabbing this tone right here? Click. Now I'm painting it over his beard. All right, now you're going to have to, I'm not clicking and moving my mouse. I'm actually just clicking it. So it keeps on grabbing that tone right from where I am. If I click and move my mouse and hold it, then this is going to move too. So I just want to use that tone right here, like that tone right there, and I want to just spot click. Does that make sense to you? I'm spot clicking over this. So now I want to fill up all his mouth area right there. I don't want to see his mouth. So I'm just going to click it up. Now I'm going to hit Command. I'm going to pause it for a minute, and I'll come back and it'll all be clean. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. Now I don't want to damage this layer. I just want to, look what I can do here. I just want to put his mouth back. Look at how I can put his mouth back. I can put his nose back. I can put his eyes back. I mean, after all, they are his features. Okay. Look at how I can put his eyebrows back and his eyebrows back. Okay, but what I'm going to do is soften areas. I'm going to make them distorted and soften them until I feel like I have a pretty good caricature. Okay, so what I'm going to do again is duplicate this layer. I want you to keep on duplicating layers and turning them off, because I am going to distort his face. All right, I want to make his forehead a little bit bigger and his chin a little bit smaller. So now I'm going to have to move things over. So I am going to take this main layer. See this main layer? I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to put it way up on top, and it's going to be what my template is. So see how I can turn it off and on, and I can get a feel of where I am. Okay, I duplicated it and I put it up there. So let me go back down to this layer right here. I'm going to hit Command T. Let me go to the thing here. See how I tell you that after you get rid of this, the next step is to select and distort the separate feature layers using transform or liquefy. I'll use both. So let me minimize this. This is the fun part, actually. Okay, so let me click this. Let me go to his jacket right now and make his jacket even smaller. So I'm going to hit Command T. I'm backing off so I can see it. I'm going to hit Command T on the whole jacket. Whoops, that shouldn't have done that. And let me make the whole jacket and then the neck smaller. So I'm going to put this right down here. That was fun. That was kind of fun. Now let me go into where the neck is. Boom. Now I'm going to distort the neck, all right, and I'm going to make it work. Now the neck, I don't care about this hair on the neck. You see it right there? I'll show you how I'm going to use the layer mask. So I'm going to take the neck layer and I'm going to hit Command T on it. Now I don't know if you know the Photoshop transforms, but I'm going to teach you here. If I move this neck and I hold the Command key and I grab this, do you see how I can distort this neck to fill in here? Now I'm actually going to move this neck layer underneath, listen to my words, look at how I'm distorting it, underneath the suit layer. Okay, so let me hit the return key. See how easy that was? Now look, I'm going to put it underneath the suit. Okay, now all I have to do is add a layer mask to the neck layer. See that? Zoom in and get rid of on the neck layer what I don't want. So let me turn off the neck layer and let me show you that on the shirt layer I actually want to soften the edge of the shirt layer. So I'll also add a layer mask to the shirt layer. Now I'm hitting the B key. I'm going to go down to about 20% on the flow. I'm going to make my brush small. I'm now painting in black. I'll go to the neck layer and I'll paint on the layer mask and look at how I can remove this. Whoops, I'm too hard. I want to go to a soft brush. Now, look at how I can remove this. Look at how I can just make that neck exactly fit perfectly. Now look at how this edge of the neck shouldn't even be there. Now this is where I say it might be easier for me to actually put in, let me see if I'm working on the right thing. Yes, I am. I actually want to put in a background of a color, not the checkerboard behind it. All right, and that's what I want to do. So I'm actually going to go down here to the very bottom underneath this face right here, and I'm going to make a layer underneath that, and I'm going to fill it with white. So I'm going to go Command Delete. Now at least I have white back there working. All right, now look at how the edge of this shirt isn't so pretty. So I'm going to go back up to the edge of the shirt. You see the shirt? I'm going to click on the layer mask, make the brush smaller, and I'm going to paint on the edge of this shirt. And I'm going to get that to be nicer. Now I'm going to hit the X key. I'm going to hit the X key and now come back the other way with white. And now I'm going to fill that in and make that look better. And now I've made that look a little bit cleaner on the edge of that shirt right there. So when I zoom out, that kind of looks nice. All right. Now let's start in on his, let's make his hair bigger. I just want bigger hair. So let's go up to his hair, wherever I put it. I'm going to move the hair all the way to the top. And I'm going to turn on the hair. And I'm going to hit Command T. Now on the hair, I'm going to hold Command Option Shift and look at how I can three-dimensionally shift the hair and make it wider. Did you see how I did that? I can make it wider by holding Command Option Shift. Now I'm going to make it a little bit taller. Now I'm going to shrink the bottom. So I'm going to click on this corner holding Command Option Shift and shrink it lower. Now do you see how I made his hair kind of fun? Okay, and now this is the original image. I made his hair even weirder. Look at how easy that was. Let me hit Command S to save. Now let's go to his eyebrows. Now here's where we can use Liquify. You see how the edge of the eyebrows look really bad? See how that edge of that eyebrow looks really bad? Well, add a layer mask to it. Add a layer mask to the other one. And paint with black. I'm hitting the X key. Paint with black on the layer mask and soften the edge. Look at how I'm softening that edge and making it disappear into the face. And that's how you actually go in and make things look really nice. Look at how that looks horrible, but now it's actually looking pretty good because I'm getting rid of that edge. Now, I want to use Liquify on the eyebrow and bulge it. So I click on I'm clicking on that. I'm going to go up to Filter, Liquify. And in the Liquify gallery, there's little buttons over here. I can go to Bloat. See how it's on Bloat? Let me zoom in with the Option key, pull it down in the center, and let me just bloat this. Look at how I'm going to bloat it. Now I can go in here and smudge it. If I make the brush smaller, look at how I can smudge it and make it bigger. Look at how I can make it taller. Look at how cool that is. I'm not smudging it a lot, but I'm smudging it a little bit. I just want to make his eyebrows look bigger. Now I'm going to click OK. Now watch what happens. See how I made his eyebrows bigger. Now let's go over to the other eyebrow on the other side. You see how it looks awful. Okay, I will turn it off. Now, we need to go in and fix this. So let's click. Let's now go in and soften this edge right here. And now let's bulge it out even farther. So I'm going to click over to the image, go to Filter, Liquify. You just have to guess at this, and then we can use the Transform palette. So what I want to do is come into here, use the Bloat tool, and bloat up this end a whole bunch. Now I'm going to use Smudge, and I'm going to smudge this way up like that. So it smudges way up in the corner like this. Now let's click OK. Look at how I've smudged it. Okay, now it's the hair that's hurting the eyebrow. I'll show you. See? So I need to go into the hair and add a layer mask. I now need to go paint on the layer mask in black and let the eyebrow come through, which is the underneath layer, and look at how pretty that is. Look at how you can make anything happen the way you want. Now look at how that looks. Look at how Robert Downey Jr. has bigger, bushier eyebrows. Now, I'll come back in a few minutes. I'm going to do the eyes next. And in the eyes, I just want to make them a little bit smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use a couple techniques to make them smaller, but leave them in the right place. So I'm going to click to the left eye, the right eye. I want to work on the right eye first. And I'm going to go into the right eye and I'm going to hit Command T. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller by holding the Shift key, and I'm going to move it down. Now I'm going to hit the Return key. I'm going to go to the left eye and hit Command T. And I'm going to make that one a little bit smaller, and I'll move it over. Now, I add a layer mask to both layers. Both layers. Now I click on the layer mask. I'm going to put this up to 25 so it goes a little bit faster on the flow, and I'm going to soften the edge of the eyes. So I'm going to make sure I'm on this one right here. I'm on the layer mask, right? And now let's soften this horrible cutout edge. And look at how I can make that actually look beautiful by painting black on the layer mask to actually now make that work. And look at how it makes that look really nice. Now just have patience. And I'm going to do the same thing that I'm doing, but not on camera, to the right eye, the nose, the mouth, and the beard. So do you see how I've actually softened the edge and I'm painting on the layer mask? If I take away too much, I just have to hit the X key. Now let's click over here, and when I come back, I will actually have a softer eye, a nose, and a mouth. Okay, as promised, I have actually now finished off the nose. This, I took a copy of the original nose, you can see it there, and I actually distorted it. So this was the original nose. You can see how I made it slightly bigger. So his eyes became smaller, his eyebrows became bigger, and I made his mouth a little deeper. So yes, I thinned down the bottom of his face so his neck fit in nice, but I made his mouth a little bit better. Bigger. So what I did was I just clicked on his mouth. This was his original mouth. Look what I did to it. I just widened it. Okay, so I didn't want to damage the original layers. See how I duplicated the mouth layer and the nose layer, as you can see what I'm clicking on. So here is the mouth, and each one got a layer mask. Now over here on his mouth, you see I didn't click on the layer mask enough and paint out that little hard edge. So here is me painting on the layer mask and softening the edge of that. And that is my dog barking. So here is Robert Downey Jr., and he's pretty much finished, and he only took me about 25 minutes, okay, doing it the right way, which is to cut out all the shapes. Here's the way he looked. Notice my distortions aren't too bad, and he still looks like Robert Downey Jr., okay? I just kind of fluffed his hair up. Now what we want to do is when I come back, I'm going to have him in a background. So I'm going to composite all of these pieces into one layer using a trick. What I'm going to do first, however, is go like this and shift click on all his body parts. All these body parts right here. Look at how I just shift clicked on all his body parts right there. And I'm going to hit the folder, and now I'm going to call these parts. And I'm going to save the file. So I'll turn off the background. And here is Robert Downey Jr. completely distorted. Here was the original Robert Downey Jr. Image that I had right here, and here's my distorted little guy right there. So that's what I want you to do, and when I come back, I'll actually composite him in a background and then make a JPEG of the whole thing. Okay, so let me turn on my guy, turn off the bottom guy, and now let's go to the next step. So I have used liquefy and the transform. You can watch that section over and over again. And then here, I added a layer mask to each separate layer. Do you remember that? And I hid the edges or softened them by painting black on the layer mask. Step 8, the final one, is add a background. So now what I'm going to do is click back and remind you that step 7, I'm going to move the layer palette over. Look at how many layer masks I have. And remember, they're supposed to be white with a little bit of black paint on them. So don't have a selection active when you make it. But look at every single layer. I'll zoom in. Look at his eye over here on the right eye. I'm sorry, the right eye that's not the right eye. This is the right eye. Now, if I go over here and disable the layer mask, look how harsh that looks on the outside. If I enable the layer mask, look at how pretty it looks. Here is the nose. If I disable it, look at how hard the nose looks. Look at how easy it looks when I enable it. Okay? And that's the fun part of this. So have some fun with this. So in a few minutes, when I come back, there will be a background back there. Thanks. All right, I want to make a copy merged layer of all the important parts, which, by the way, are all in one layer. So there's two ways to do it. I could just duplicate this folder and merge all the layers, or just simply take the first layer, go all the way down to the last layer, and shift click and ignore the hidden layers. Just ignore them because they're hidden, and go Command Option or Control Alt E. And that's going to make a copy merged layer. It'll be named the top layer, whatever that name was, will be the name of that one. So I'll change the name, but I'll move it up and out of that layer. So I want to turn it off. I want to show you that inside there are a bunch of layers. I've now made, if I turn it off, a copy merged layer. And I'll even say that this is the merged layer. Merged character. Now what I want to do is put a space background behind him and then kind of vignette him in that space background. So what I've already done is gone to the internet and found a space background. I'm going to right hand click and duplicate that layer to my character. See? Now I'll say OK. Now I'm going to go Command tilde, which is the key above the tab key, and I'm back to here. Now obviously that character is going to get put here. So now I'm going to hit Command T on the background, and I'm going to, I don't really care if it's distorted a whole bunch, but I will go back and I'll, because I like the coloring that's in that background. Okay, so let me just make it bigger like this, and go like that, and maybe I'll squishy squash it just a little bit. Even though I'm distorting it, it's still okay. All right, it's still fine, and let me make it larger. Now, we have a problem. You can see his hair isn't the best. So what I have to do is use a technique to soften the light edges of his hair, and there is an absolute way to do that. Okay, so I'm going to hit the return key, and I'm going to click on the character. I'm going to add a layer mask to the character, but I'm going to click back to the character. I don't want his edges to be so hard, and I want to do a couple of things. So here's how the technique is to get rid of all this on top. I'm going to Command click that layer. Now it made a selection of everything. Okay, I'm going to go to select, modify, and contract it by about 4 pixels. Now I'm going to inverse it. So I'm painting on the outside. Okay, now I am. Now I'm going to feather it so I don't have a hard edge by about half of what I contracted it, which was 5 pixels or 4 pixels. I'm going to go to 2 pixels. Now I'm going to hit Command H. And I'm going to take my time, but I'm going to paint black on the layer mask, look at my paintbrush right there. I'm going to click to the layer mask and I'm going to paint black on the layer mask, and you can see how it's softening the edges of that hair. Do you see how it's taking away all the bad things? Not necessarily all of them, but a lot of them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually diminish his hair there, okay? And I should darken that background a little bit, so I'm going to click on the background and hit Command L, and I'm going to just darken that background just a little bit. Now I'm going to click back to the layer mask with no selection active. With no selection active. I did something I shouldn't have done. Doggone it. I used Command L on this background with the selection active. Doggone it. So what I'm going to do is Command Z back. Then I'm going to go, I need to do something. I need to deselect now. So I Command Z back. Now I'm going to hit Command L and I'm going to darken this background. And I'm going to go even darker with it, like this. Now I'm going to click OK, click back the Robert Downey Jr. caricature image. I'm going to click over to the layer mask, and with no selection active, I'm going to put the flow on about 10, and I'm going to paint on the edge of his hair, and I'm going to soften the edge of his hair as if it's being diffused. So in essence, and yeah, I'm probably what you would think, erasing a little bit of his hair until it looks nice going into that background. Okay, so I'm just going to erase some of that hair. Well, I'm not erasing it. I'm painting on the layer mask, diminishing the intensity of that hair. Now look at how nice he looks. And if I wanted to take my time, which I kind of don't really want to take my time on this because it's a simple step-by-step tutorial, I'll go in there and paint a little bit more out on the edges, and that's the secret to really making this work. Now, I want to click on the layer mask right here, and I want to add a G key. I don't want this to be so harsh. So I'm going to go to foreground to transparent. Do you see that right there? I'm going to hold my finger right here, click right there, and I'm going to hold the Shift key and work my way up Robert Downey Jr. and add a little ghosting effect in that background. Now I want to show a little bit more of his tie, so I'll hit the B key, make the brush bigger, hit the X key. See black on the layer mask? I'm going to put a little white on the layer mask and show his tie a little bit better and the center of his shirt. So you can see how I'm doing that. And I vignetted now him into that background very nicely. And I think that's a cool looking Robert Downey Jr. You're done. Save the JPEG and the PSD file and send them to me. So there it is. I hope you kind of enjoyed that in a step-by-step process. All right. And let me know if you have any issues.